We're here at the UFI Leon County Extension Office, and you're used to seeing our vegetable gardens and our orchards and all sorts of other demonstration gardens. But here's a new demonstration that we have going on here, and it looks a little bit different. We have this about 1.5 acre little parcel here on the property that was planted with longleaf pines here about 15 years ago. And these longleafs are really important. So longleaf pine ecosystems, and this would be a longleaf pine savanna, are a native ecosystem to the southeast. And typically you wouldn't see this much undergrowth. We've cleared out the oaks in the past couple years that have grown up, but we really need a burn. And so we're hoping to do that coming up pretty soon. What you'll see here that we have growing, and we didn't plant most of this, we've planted some seeds and some plants as well, but primarily what you're seeing bloom is Biden's alba. And you can see how much the pollinators love this. We've got lots of Gulf fritillary butterflies. That's that orange beauty right there. There's some dragonflies as well. And so these flowers, they're native flowers, but they're called beggar's ticks, or sometimes they're called Spanish needles, and they get stuck to your clothes. But the butterflies and other pollinators love them, as well as native bees and honeybees as well, which aren't native, but they're still beneficial here. So we see tons of butterflies in our gardens, and we think we see a ton of them is because we have a lot of plants growing here in the woods. One of them right here, and this is a sure sign that it's fall, this is goldenrod or solidago. There's also some blackberries in there. They are pretty sharp right now and pretty much all year long, but they've already given off their fruit for the year. You'll see several grasses in here, and this will, once we have a fire, they will help to spread the fire along. And fire doesn't seem like something you'd want to encourage in an ecosystem, but really it keeps the undergrowth nice and low, so you get a lot more diversity of species. So these blackberries and these Biden's alba, they are pioneer species. They take over pretty quickly. And a couple years ago, we had a volunteer work really hard to get rid of all of the invasive plants that are growing in here. And he did a really good job, but occasionally we'll get an invasive plant that just is really pernicious. And that is true of this pea family relative, and that is the mimosa tree. It's in the Albizia genus. And so this is one of our more invasive trees here in Tallahassee and in North Florida in general. You can see that we cut down this main stump, but the tree is sprouting again from suckers. So we cut it down and we treated it with herbicides, but it can still pop back up again. So that just goes to show that invasive plants is a multi-step removal process. Thankfully, we don't have too many other invasives in here to take care of. Right in here we have a beautiful, this is one of my favorites, it's called a winged sumac. Now it's in the same family as poison sumac and poison ivy, but you can see the little wings here, and that will tell you that it is not poisonous. And these produce a nice little fruit. They'll produce the fruit right up on top. And so these ones are pretty young, so I don't see any fruit on them this time of year quite yet, but maybe next year we'll see them. And so this is another one of those species that grows in this longleaf pine ecosystem, particularly as a pioneer species as well. So we've got some dog fennel. This will get burned back. Still lots of Biden's alba, lots of bees everywhere. And we keep this trail mowed down. We did some plantings here with the help of some grants from Florida DEP and Florida, the Florida Friendly Landscaping Office. And so we've done some plantings of some wildflowers and some grasses as well. We'll just keep going on here. We planted some blueberries, but not the blueberries that you would typically see in your home garden. These are a smaller species. Here's some more of that beautiful goldenrod. And this will it's just starting. You see how it's kind of a chartreuse color? When those open up, it'll get nice and golden and absolutely beautiful. And this whole area will just be beautifully golden here. And I say another week or so. What's been interesting is that we've had lots of plants come up out of the seed bank. So we didn't plant this grass. It's an andropogon, but it is definitely going to be helpful in terms of spreading the fire. Here's another beauty. A little yellow aster. And so longleaf pines are really fire adapted. This large tree up here, it's not a longleaf, but it's still an important part of this little ecosystem because it has, lots of branches. Some of them are falling, and so it acts a bit of a snag. I believe that's possibly a slash pine. So our younger trees, you can tell they're much skinnier, but that's one, because they're smaller trees and then they're younger, but then two, because longleafs, they tend to have a slower growing rate than a lot of other pines that might be grown commercially. Here's a really cool plant. And this is partridge pea. And you can see it's in the pea family again, just like that invasive plant we were talking about, because it's got that pretty nice characteristic sort of bean-shaped seed pod. And this is blooming. It just finished blooming. There's some little yellow flowers. So that's great for pollinators, and then wildlife will come eat the berries or the fruits as well. We've got lots of Smilax. There's 9 different species of Smilax in this area, and they are amazing little plants. They can get really massive, grow up to the tops of the canopy if they need to, but this guy's just hanging out down here because it gets plenty of sunlight. And so that's what's great about these longleaf pine ecosystems, is that the trees are fairly well spaced apart, and that provides a lot of light to get down to the ground level, where you get a large diversity of plants. Now, this ecosystem used to cover the majority of the southeast. It's down to about 3% of its previous range. So even these small little pockets, whether you're a landowner with 5 acres or you're a landowner with 100 acres and you'd like to convert it back to a longleaf pine, it's definitely possible, and it all helps. We're coming up on a beautiful fall flower, Liatris, and it's this beautiful purple, and it's the other sign for fall. Let's see how beautiful this little flower is. It's just wonderful. Some more sumac. Some more Liatris popping up in there. Now here we've got some beautiful plants. It's a crazy looking plant, but it is absolutely beautiful and native. It is a beautyberry, and these berries are eaten by all sorts of wildlife, especially birds. People can eat it, but they usually make like jams and jellies with it. You don't really eat it raw. Another one that the butterflies just congregate around during certain times of year, and you can see a couple of what are they? They're the Florida State butterfly. They are zebra longwings back there. But they tend to really like this Yopon holly. And so they'll gather here. This Yopon is a great Florida native shrub. And you can see the berries here. They're a little bit green right now. But they will ripen up and be red for winter, and that'll provide a lot of food for wildlife in here. And so we're at a pretty urban area. You can hear, you know, cars, and you can hear people cutting the grass. Oh, here's a beauty. This is a moth, and it is see if it'll stop. It is a polka dot wasp moth. So it is a moth, but it comes out during the day, and it's a pollinator. We see it a lot in our gardens. And it is camouflage itself to look a bit more like a wasp than an actual moth. Here we keep going. We can see our beautiful zebra longwings. And so zebra longwings and Gulf fritillaries will be the primary butterflies you're gonna see back here. Several sulfur butterflies as well, but the zebra longwings and Gulf fritillaries love it back here because we have a lot of passion vine. And the passion vine is the larval host plant of these two species. And they're really cool looking as little caterpillars. We'll see if we can find some. Oh, here is the fruit of the passion vine. And we've got a stink bug here. And then that looks like probably an immature stink bug. One of the instars of the stink bug looked just like a good bug. But because there's another stink bug there, I'm gonna guess that it is another stink bug. So you can see the leaf here was eaten a bit. So there were definitely some caterpillars here at some point. Let's see if we can investigate, see any more. And they're kind of, they're either orange or white, and both have black kind of spiky looking things to make them look less delicious to predators, the caterpillars. And so we'll go up here to up this trail up to the chicken coop. Lots and lots of species back here. I'm seeing dragonflies. And then of course there's larger species here as well. There's we're a little too urban for things like fox squirrels, but those definitely live out in the Apalachicola National Forest. But we have, you know, regular gray squirrels. We definitely have raccoons. We've seen foxes on our trail cam. Just all sorts of wildlife out here, even though it's a fairly urban spot. Oh, here's an invasive plant that sometimes we don't pay attention to because it does provide a lot of great resources. Let's see if I can get back there with all of the blackberries. So this plant is Lantana. Lantana is loved by pollinators, unfortunately, but it has broken out of gardens and into wild natural areas all over Florida. There is a Lantana species. This is Lantana chimera. There is a Lantana species that is native down in way South Florida. But this one is not native. And so we are going to have to take these out. You can see Skipper, I believe, is on there now. But you'll see it'll produce these berries and these fruit, and it'll just spread further and further out. So we're gonna have to get in here and remove these plants before they spread further out into even more natural ecosystems. Oh, here's one more invasive plant. And this, you can tell it is invasive, particularly because of the smell. But some visual identifiers are it's kind of reddish orange stem here. And this is a camphor tree. You can smell it. It smells like a vapor rub. And you can just pull it on out if you're a little stronger than I am. We might come back here with a little extractigator, maybe wear some gloves and pull it on out. So there's definitely some invasive plants back here, but we're working on it. And even though it looks like these Biden's alba are invasive, they're not. They're doing their job. They're providing for pollinators. They're a native plant. They just happen to have a more weedy habit than we're used to. Oh, here's a good one. So this is ragweed, I believe. And ragweed is what is responsible for your seasonal allergies. It is not the beautiful goldenrod. This goldenrod that is about to bloom. That's not quite there yet. The goldenrod cannot cause you allergies because it's too big. The pollen itself is not air. It's not really drifted about airborne. It is pollinated via insects. So it's too heavy to get into the air, where ragweed is wind pollinated. So it's definitely not the solidago's fault. We've got some Fakahatchee grass back there, that nice big grass. And then coming up underneath our oak tree, here's our trail ends. We've got some more beautyberry. So come on out and see our beautiful Longleaf Pine Pocket Preserve and see what you can find out here. See what kind of butterflies or even bigger wildlife.